This next section describes the effects of media on cultures and society and how they in turn interact with each other. Uh, the first model in this section is the cultivation process. This process is described as the cumulative effect that media exposure has on individuals and in turn the society over a period of time. This theory was based on the idea that television viewing is a symbolic and ritualistic act in the life of an individual, and over the time, exposure to certain kinds of content will create sometimes precedented and sometimes unprecedented outcomes. The second model in this process, in understanding the effects of media, is the agenda setting process. Uh, it describes how attention or lack of attention on certain topics can cause changes in public opinion and how various agendas interact with each other. It is commonly observed in the basic model that the issues that they are given more media coverage have a higher importance in the public opinion. So the more the more attention media gives a certain news story, the more importance or perceived importance it has in the audiences, and this can be played negatively as well. For example, if you want to subdue a news story, you just don't give it any attention in the mainstream media, which happens all the time nowadays. Another process that helps to understand these effects is the dependency model, which has two parts: a structural and a processing part. This model is based on the hypothesis that members of society become increasingly dependent on media systems, especially under certain tragic circumstances. For example, right now, we are dependent on the media to keep giving us information regarding this pandemic. And because society is a social structure, media organizations become a vital part of it when dealing with novel information. But these are ruled by the perceived authenticity of the order and the degree of development of that media organization and the audiences and their by their need of for the media. The process model of this dependency model describes how the three components that are described above, namely the authenticity, the degree of development, and the need of the audience, how these components affect the process. Where based on the socioeconomic lanes, different individuals have varying degrees of exposure to the media. So if you're a member of the 1%ers, you will have uh, you will have a quicker media exposure. Like you'll know news before it gets to the mainstream media, and it goes down as you go down the financial lane. So but this model is widely criticized because it views media organization as non-political, which is not true at all anywhere in the world. The one of the most interesting models in this section is the spiral of silence. Uh, this is very interesting because it gives us an insight into human beings as a species. Human beings, because by their very nature, are societal beings. They depend on each other and they need each other in order to survive. And but at the same time, we are individuals as well, and we have our own personal idiosyncrasies and our own insecurities. And those insecurities and opinions and biases play a part in how we voice our opinions. So if we fear that it's kind of like the consonance and dissonance, but it's just dissonance uh, where we don't voice our opinions for the fear of being shunned by the society. And this gives us an insight into the phenomena of pluralistic ignorance and the silent majority, where you know a thing is bad or a certain bad thing is happening, but because the majority or the strong majority chooses to ignore it or stay silent on it, you choose to stay silent as well, because not doing so would put a mark on your back. And that's very interesting with regards to human psychology. Then there's a theory of information gaps. There's a perceived notion that an information society is an informed society. This is not true, because based on your economic status and your personal capability and the social structure that you're living in, different people will have different level of exposure to media and perception of and need for media. The privileged class will have the information quite some time before the underprivileged classes, and there is a concept of equalization where the underprivileged class and the privileged class will get the same information, but the privileged class would have had that information quite some time ago. The last part in this section is the concept of centrifugal and centripetal effects of media on the society. The centrifugal, by its very name, describes how certain informations can allow individuals of a society to come closer or bring them apart. Now we'll go to the next section, that is the audience-centric approach to media. This is the first step back from the primitive models of just the direct responses. This is a totally audience-centric approach to making models. This is based on the idea by Katz, and the emphasis is shifting from direct effects on people to the behavior of people with the media, which gave powerful insights into the type of content and its impact, as well as an in-depth understanding into how people make positive or negative interactions with the media. The idea of uses and gratification is represented in 4 models: basic model, general model, expectancy value model, and culture versus informational model. The basic model discusses the sociological and psychological reasons behind the needs that drive media usage and exposure, and how it can either end in gratification or unprecedented outcomes. You can either like the content or you won't like it and it will annoy you. The needs are presumed to be the problems to the solution, which make up the motive, for which in turn define our media exposure. So our needs are the problems that we have, and we go to the media in search for solutions of these problems, and that defines our motives for that. But it is important to note that gratification that is sought is often lower than is lower than the gratification that is just gain, that you just gain without looking for it. That is perhaps because of the anxiety buildup during the media exposure. The expectancy value model works on the assumption that audience get into the media content with a predetermined idea of what they want to get when they're going to get out of that when they watch that content. This model is elaborated with a simple mathematical equation, which elaborates that gratification that is sought leads to the formation of beliefs and and evaluations, and further media usage can either reinforce those beliefs or just take you away from them. So the fourth model